Good Wednesday night. I am Thabo Mdluli, and thank you very much for joining us tonight on the Newsfeed Late Night. Racial tensions ran high during one of the by-elections in Cape Town. COVID-19 informal settlement residents clashed with the Delft community following a recent murder there. It's one of 15 by-elections taking place nationally. Let's take a look at what transpired there.
Very palpable, very palpable. Someone is being arrested, Tammy. This man is getting apprehended by the police. These are the scenes right now, Tammy, in Delft. Listen in.
To a community that gets everything for free. They want everything for free, so they think they can kill the colors for free. Because they stand together.
The police are still here, Tammy, just keeping a close eye on the developments here, just ensuring that there is some sense of order.
For some reaction to the by-elections and their views on how they think they fared, I'm joined by the EFF head of elections, Mgcini, Tshwaku, DA spokesperson Siviwe Gwarube, and ANC spokesperson Pule Mabe to be a part of the conversation tonight. You can also give us your thoughts and your views at Newsroom 405. WhatsApp your questions and your comments to 072-110-5584. Good evening to you all, and thank you very much for joining us tonight here on the Newsfeed Late Night. Mgcini, I'll begin with you. Your voters that are voting in Delft there in Cape Town, and we are seeing scenes of racial tension. What is it that you think is behind this tension that we are seeing there, but also what is your feeling on how the community is handling it?
No, thank you very much, Thabo, and also I'd like to say good evening to the listeners. It has been a very long 3 months of campaigning, and also I would like to thank the ground forces of the EFF who have worked tirelessly on these by-elections and gave it all. So we want to thank you to actually them with that hard work. It has been a highly contested in the elections, as you have seen also in that 120 there at actually Delft. It is actually happening everywhere. Maybe those things that you see there in Delft, maybe that is a focus that's happening there, but it's happening where I am now currently at Ward 6 in eThekwini, where this by-election are hotly contested, also in Ward 20 in Mgcini and Ward 4. What we are seeing here is that there's a lot of vote rigging that's actually happening, that we are seeing happening. So these tensions, I can say, the ones that you see mostly on the voting side, we found that the ink that is there, it actually gets removed by the sanitizer. And then number two, you've got the principals of school interfering with the IEC work. You've got loud noise that is outside the whole voting area. And what is so very sad is when we found that in a place called Esizakele, there was a ballot. There were people that were claiming that they were actually voting, that there was a voting station that was not actually declared by the IEC. And then we all went in there, all the political parties, and it was full, and the ANC was using that as operation center. So we also see on the voters' roll that there are people who are, when we went to do, the door-to-door into the streets, we found that in one house, there are close to 207 people that are registered there. So we've raised this with the IEC to actually tell us why you find that in one place there are, there are people who are registered there, and also been seeing people who are being transferred, who are actually been transported from one ward coming to vote to the other wards.
So that's why are you saying to me all these irregularities, I mean, that you're citing, ink being removed by sanitizer, the voters' roll containing 200 or so people from one household, some of the voting stations operating that are not declared by the IEC. All these issues are culminating in the type of scenes that we are seeing. The scenes seemingly are more race, though, driven in terms of what we're hearing the people are saying.
Yeah, look, I mean, there in the Delft, you will have those, because what happens that the leadership of the EFF has actually occupied land there. So you find that people are claiming, some of them claiming that the area, it is the area there. And then you find that there's this, allegation that you have this racism that is happening between the blacks and the colors that are actually in that area. But the leadership of the EFF is there. They'll be having meetings with the community there. But I don't think, for me, when I got the report from the leadership, it's not really more rational inclined. I think that it's the tensions of the elections which are actually there, because what you're having there, you have PA, that is, you have this Patriotic Alliance is actually doing, the contestation that EFF, all the other political parties which are there. So all these things, it's the election mode. It's just that we call it, it's the excitement. So you would expect that. I mean, here people are raising issues of the service delivery. Other people, when we're doing a door-to-door around the area, they told us that they are not going to vote, as if, because of the service delivery, which is not there, and all of that.
Let's come back to those issues of service delivery in a moment. I just want to get a word in from the ANC as well as the DA. Pule, what do you make of elections or election tension and the excitement spilling over into what we are seeing as some tense situation there between the colored community and the black community in Delft?
Well, evening to your viewers. Of course, scenes of conflicts, racial conflicts on the ground are worrying to the African National Congress. We have an ops center that has been monitoring all of the 14 wards. I heard you when we started, you said it was 15 wards. There was an interdict in the Eastern Cape. So those by-elections there didn't proceed, but the other 14 by-elections had proceeded, and the report we had received is that in their majority, they went well. There were incidences, for instance, one in Ward 6 and the one in Delft, but generally there has been quite a good showing, except that there are big signs of voter apathy, people not going to the polls, which would be worrying to the African National Congress. But we must commend the IEC. The fact that elections, voting stations opened on time, the fact that they have been able to uphold COVID-19 regulations effectively shows that they are ready to conduct local government elections on any day. What the ANC always does in the process of local government elections is that it embarks on a community participation process where members of the community are given the opportunity to come out and elect those ward councillors who would then resonate with their own choice. So that later on when they go out to vote, they will be voting for people or persons that they themselves had endorsed and are not necessarily people brought up as choices of the party itself.
So I want to jump in there, Pule, before you go on. You mentioned two words. You mentioned resonate, and you also mentioned the word endorsement. But earlier on, you also mentioned the voter apathy. If you look at the hallmarks of a successful election campaign, one of the things that would come up is the fact that you were able to carve a clear vision and an ambition that would inspire the community to actually want to come out and vote. Would you say there is a failure in the parties that are involved to carve that kind of a message that inspires the voter to go out and vote?
Well, I wouldn't necessarily say that there's a failure on the part of those. I mean, there's greater maturity between amongst all the different political parties that are contesting in these elections. We have observed over the years this kind of low voter turnout, especially when it comes to local government elections. Now, we have developed a program, a voter education program, to make sure that we can be able to educate our people to understand the role that they are expected to play, especially when it comes to this kind of elections. Yeah. Because elections give people an opportunity to express their own choice, elect those men and women who will be able to enforce and implement programs that will change their living conditions in those communities. So when communities do not go out to vote, they are not in a position to be able to influence the developmental path of their own communities. And the ANC doesn't tire. We do not just contest elections for the sake of winning. We are also using elections as a platform to educate our communities on why they need to participate in these elections.
Hence, I'm saying to you, do you believe you crafted a successful message? If the people don't get up, don't feel inspired to go and vote, I mean, one would say you did not craft a successful message. One would say maybe you said to them the same things that they've heard you say over and over again, and quite honestly, they don't believe you, and that's why they didn't go even bother to want to participate.
Research indicates there are a number of things that would make people to go and not go to the polls. The fact that we in the African National Congress are making that kind of an observation and have given ourselves a task to make sure that we deepen voter education, because it's very important. I mean, you'll remember back in 1994, when we were voting for the first time in this country, we used to have programs like Votani Mawetu. You need to be able to resuscitate such kind of initiatives. Our people, the youth of today, younger ones, need to understand why it's important for them to vote, why it's important for them to use the polls to express their own voices.
So are you saying you're pinning it down to lack of voter education, amongst other things? I don't know what your research tells you.
Well, amongst other things, it could be that. But you see, it's a pattern that is mostly seen, especially around local government elections. I mean, we had by-elections last year, by the way, where the ANC did extremely well, and we are sure that even in these by-elections again, we will do extremely well, because our members are on the ground. They are in touch with the communities. They understand the service delivery challenges that they are facing there, and are doing everything else possible in their power to make sure that they craft a niche that brings people on board so that they can participate in their own development. All we are doing now is to really make an observation and say, why is it that when we go to general elections, there's great excitement, people go out there, they vote, but when you come to local government elections, which is an important sphere of governance, you tend to have a lower voter turnout. So it is something that political parties using our multi-party political forum and the multi-party forums that are convened by the IEC would also have to engage on, because it is in the interest of each and every political party in this country to encourage communities to participate in voting. I mean, the ANC will win, but we don't just want to win because a majority of people came out and voted for us. It could have been that it is a majority of a lesser number. We want to win and enjoy the support and endorsement of the overwhelming majority of our people. Right. When that happens, we will be able to know that the kind of programs that we're implementing, the manifesto, the promises we have made to the people of this country are going to basically be fulfilled in the interest of everyone, not only in the interest of those who voted.
Let's take a break. We'll come back. The spokesperson for the Democratic Alliance, Siviwe Gwarube, will try and tackle that question as well. Why is it that there is a lack of excitement when it comes to elections of local government officials? To stay with us, you can also drop us your tweets tonight at Newsroom 405 to be a part of the conversation, or you can WhatsApp your comments 072-110-5584. Welcome back live tonight on the news feed late night, and we're in conversation with the EFF head of elections, Mgcini Tshwaku, DA spokesperson Siviwe Gwarube, as well as ANC spokesperson Pule Mabe. This is on the by-elections held today, I believe, in 14 wards, the Eastern Cape being successfully interdicted, and those by-elections going to be held later on. Now, at Newsroom 405, that's where you tweet us or WhatsApp your questions and your comments to 072-110-5584. Siviwe, just tackle for me the first questions around what you're seeing happening at Delft, but also that broader question of voter apathy and why there's lack of excitement around by-elections or generally when we're speaking local government elections.
Good evening, Thabo, and good evening to your viewers. Obviously, I mean, the scenes that have been coming out of Delft today are a deep concern to the Democratic Alliance. We know that through the investigation that the city of Cape Town has been doing, we know that there were some land invasions on a site that was earmarked for housing for the people of that area. And so it is obviously always incredibly difficult when this happens, because it hampers the ability for the city in particular to be able to roll out basic services that the people need. And so that is why we have seen now a culmination of this kind of conflict. And so the fact that it has taken a racial turn is something that obviously deeply concerns us, because our view is that actually the real causes of why South Africans are feeling the kind of stress and are feeling the kind of tensions that are rising in the country is actually due to the state that our country is in. The fact that our economy is completely poorly performing. This has been due to COVID, but also this has also been due to poor economic performance, and that has been due to the fact that we've had poor economic policies, at least for the past 2.5 decades. And so that is something now that COVID has accelerated, and you can literally feel, and you can, if you walk through the communities anywhere in South Africa, you can see that people are absolutely on their knees. And that's why I think it goes to the issue that you were asking my two colleagues earlier around the issue around voter apathy and around excitement for local government elections. As Pule Mabe said earlier, I mean, there's a historical trend that political parties have seen where it comes to local government elections, where participation has dropped. But I think there's something deeper here. And I think for now, particularly in 2021, when we've come out of a pandemic and we've come out of a situation where South Africans are far worse off than they were before we entered the pandemic. And essentially this pandemic has accelerated people and push people in deeper into poverty. And so really what political parties now are having to do is to convince South Africans that which political party has the plan to salvage the situation. We are now in a complete meltdown, and the only way South Africans are actually going to respond to us and go to the polls to vote and have an expression of their votes is if we have inspiring messages that will show them that we actually have a plan, an alternative to the current government on how we intend on fixing the situation. I was in Delft earlier this evening and earlier this afternoon, and we've spoken to a number of people who have said to us, as the government in Cape Town and the government in the Western Cape, to say, we've seen the work that you've done, we've seen what you've done over the past decade and a half, but we are asking for more. And it's incumbent on us as a political party to introspect and to say, where can we accelerate service delivery? South Africans can no longer afford to wait. It's high time now that we ourselves as political parties beg people to simply go and hire and fire government.
How are you crafting that message to the people? Because, I mean, by and large, if you look at the situation, again, it's a scramble for resources. People are saying, well, people are just occupying land. They want things for free. It's just a scramble for resources where people are saying, well, those resources should be coming to this community and somebody else is coming in and essentially stealing what's mine. So how are you crafting a message that you're certain actually is based on the opinion of those on the ground and what they want to hear?
Well, a number of things, and I think you've hit the nail on the head, that literally what we are seeing is a culmination of a nation in crisis. And that is why you've got people who are scrambling and saying, we want this for this community. But in reality, for us, particularly where we have been in government and those municipalities that we were contesting where we've been in government, we've been able to point to the service delivery that we've seen. Just recently, a report came out citing the fact that 6 out of the 7 metros in South Africa are in complete financial ruin. The only metro in that is not is the city of Cape Town. So it's incumbent on us as a Democratic Alliance to showcase what we've done in the past 15 years, but also to say to people, we understand that the problems here are dire and that we need to accelerate service delivery. But also to say to people that where we don't govern, that ultimately in order for us to bring the DA difference that we've been able to demonstrate where we do govern, we need your participation. Because ultimately voters need to understand that they have the power, not political parties. Citizens have the power to hire and fire governments or at least public representatives that don't work for them. And that's why local government elections are so important. And that is why we are not in support of of postponing local government elections or even amalgamating local government elections and national elections, because these are critical for accountability, direct accountability by the people in those communities that we serve. So we want to be able to put our offer to the people of South Africa. We want them to have an opportunity to exercise their constitutional right to go to the polls and essentially elect public representatives that have proven themselves.
It's news just in. While you're saying that, President Cyril Ramaphosa has announced that Wednesday, the 27th of October, 2021, is the date on which local government elections will take place. Mgcini, should we hold the 2021 local government elections?
No, is it, Thabo? The position of the EFF is very clear, and we've been saying that in many different, platforms we were talking. We're saying that these elections must be, we must postpone these elections. Either we move them into a later date, or we can actually combine them with the 2024 one. But we see that maybe if we want to amend the constitution, it's going to be take a bit of time. So we are of the view that at least if we can postpone them, because the COVID-19 is still there, it's prevalent, and it's still killing. And then there is a possibility of a third wave. That's what the Department of Health is saying. And also, as you can see, that there is no, the vaccine rollout is not happening in South Africa.
Yeah.
South Africa will reach the herd immunity. It will take something like 20 years or so, based on the current rate, what they are doing right now.
Yeah.
And as you can see in this election, you can come towards 6. There's no social distancing. There's no there's no sanitization and all of that. The place is highly contested. Imagine now when you unleash all this into 23,165 voting stations across the country, you will definitely have a third wave, and people are going to die. So that's why we're saying that we need to be able to postpone these elections, or else, and so that we can move them into the other time, so that at least we can have a situation where we look at this COVID-19 and make sure that at least our people are not going to die. Politics will be there forever, but people, they will die, and they're not going to be able to enjoy the fruits of economic freedom in our lifetime.
Pule, I'm
and
sure
then also,
you'd want to jump into that as well. You support the call by the president for the elections to be held on the 27th of October, I beg your pardon, 2021. Are you not concerned about these issues, a possibility of a third wave, a lack of stock when it comes to PPEs and sanitization and so on and so forth, and the number of people that would possibly be gathering at these voting stations? Pule?
Well, thanks. We do welcome the decision by the president to pronounce on the date of elections in October. Basically, the report that we've been receiving from our own op center is that the voting station is one of the most safest place. The IEC had displayed, by and large, its ability to enforce COVID-19 protocols. Remember, when you get into the when you get into a voting station, especially when you get in...
Does not happen. Doesn't happen, Pule. Doesn't happen.
Go ahead, Pule.
But when you get into the booth, you are, at the booth you are alone. You are given an opportunity all by yourself voting stations are much more safer than malls. If there's one place where you can actually enforce social distancing, it's at the polls. The IEC will have to come up with a plan, a program that ensures that our polls become even much more safer, to make sure that they do not become super spreaders. If they need to increase the number of those 23,000 VDs that are already there, let them do so. If they need to expand on the number of voting days, let them do so. If they need to declare a larger number of special votes, so that on the actual date of voting, you limit the number of people who are going to the polls, let them do so. The African National Congress is ready, has never advocated for the extension of these elections and will go out to make sure that it encourages our people to use democratic elections to be able to express their views. I also want to clarify a point made by my colleague from the Democratic Alliance, that actually in the Ekurhuleni Metro, which is governed in a coalition by the African National Congress, we had received a clean audit. I'm sure the other metros are still waiting for their own results. So if we talk about the confidence index displayed by how well we manage our metros, the Ekurhuleni Metro is a living example of what the ANC has been able to do. We are delivering services in that metro to all citizens, regardless of who they endorse. Actually, Ekurhuleni has shown success of how a government in a coalition can also be government. But the ANC is going out into these elections in October. It's even better that they are not even put at a further date, knowing very well that we have got a responsibility to encourage our people to go out in their numbers so that we could get that necessary endorsement to be able to govern on our own, not in a coalition. We want to govern on our own so that when we are blamed, we should be blamed for mistakes that we shall have conducted. We should be not for some political management that we shall have tried to do because we are trying to manage perceptions and make everyone else happy. We want to go there by ourselves, put forward a program, put men and women who shall have been a product of community participation, who will themselves enjoy the endorsement of the people they lead. So that when we fail, we know that it's the program of the ANC that had collapsed, which was really being endorsed by the people where the ANC was expected to be.
We'll come back. We'll get responses on that. I'm going to take a break. I'll pick up on that question of the confidence index in a moment, but also EFF head of elections, then Tshwaku, saying it doesn't happen on the ground. Siviwe Gwarube with us as well, ANC spokesperson Pule Mabe. This after the president has made the announcement local government elections will be held on the 27th of October this year. Newsroom Africa, Channel 405, continues in a moment. Back with you now here on the newsfeed late night in conversation with the EFF, the ANC, as well as the Democratic Alliance. This is on by-elections. Before the break, Pule Mabe saying the confidence index quite high on the ANC following a number of clean audits that they've received, including the one Siviwe in Ekurhuleni. But when you look at all the parties, give me a sense of what you think as far as the overall image, right? Maintaining a stable and appealing brand image. You look at the DA, there's a lot going on in there with some of your leaders involved in falsifying of qualifications. There is a sense that the party is moving towards sidelining, for example, black leadership. Not a great image to sell to the voters. There are other issues, of course, in all the other parties, which I'll raise with them. But Siviwe, deal with those.
Thanks, Thabo. I do want to just quickly move slightly backwards to the issue that we were speaking about just before the break. Look, we are pleased that the ANC has finally come around to embracing holding the local government elections and not postponing them, because we have long held that if the IEC can guarantee that, as is their mandate, that they can deliver a free, fair and safe election for the people of South Africa, then we've got to afford them the right to be able to go to the polls and exercise their constitutional right. And that the reality, Thabo, is that the rest of the world, we are going to be dealing with COVID-19 for a very long time. It's deeply criminal, the fact that our vaccine rollout has been so slow at the pace that it has been going on. But ultimately, this now needs to literally ramp up the ability for us to vaccinate healthcare workers and the most vulnerable first, so that we can be able to take people to the polls. Ultimately, the rest of the world is moving on. We've got to be able to give people the ability to fire people who are not doing what they said they were going to do. And the reality is that we are confident. We are ready to go to the polls. We have been possibly the only political party that has been able to move its operations online. We've been able to reach people in far-flung parts of the country, to be able to train our activists so that they can take our message out to the people of South Africa. And so honestly, what we are saying is that we're confident in our operational readiness. We are confident that the people of South Africa are going to reward good governance and reject poor governance where they have been subjected to some. And so we are confident and we are ready to go to the polls in October.
How confident are you that the image of your party is stable and appealing at the moment?
Look, Thabo, we've never shied away from the fact that, you know, the Democratic Alliance has gone through difficult times since the 2019 elections. Those elections were a deep moment of introspection for us. As a political party, we had to sit down and we had to introspect deeply about what went wrong and what we could do better. And so where we have let people down, we've come back to those communities to say, this is how we've rectified it. This is what we're going to do better. And in fact, we've seen a complete and utter uptake from our message where people are saying, what we want is a party that works for us and not the other way around. We don't want people coming here only when it's election time and then they disappear the entire time. And so they've said, what we know about the DA is that the DA is strong where it governs. And every single indicator that you look at, every indicator that matters, Thabo, is telling you that exact thing. Whether you look at our provincial government, whether you look at our metros or in our municipalities. And so, of course, there will be situations where we've got to deal with crises from time to time in your own party. And that's why we've been open and transparent about saying this is how we're going to deal with a problem that has arisen. Right. And these are the processes that we've put in place in order for us to get to a resolution. We are confident that people of South Africa will reward the good governance that we've showed them where we've governed.
Dini, let's bring you in. You're saying it doesn't happen on the ground, this whole question of social distancing, sanitizing. You're saying it's actually literally not safe. Pule says, well, the IEC needs to step up and do whatever it takes. If it means extending the days, do that. If it means getting more voting stations, do that. Make everything possible to make sure that these local government elections go ahead unhinged.
You see, Thabo, this is what happens when you do an analysis, you know, at an elite or at an air-conditioned offices. Because Pule, you know, and probably the member of the DA, they're not on the ground and seeing what is happening here. We are here with Siviwe. We are here on the ground. And also, as the EFF are ready, I told you we've got ground forces in all 4,464 wards. We are ready. And it's a good time now, at this point in time, to contest the corrupt ruling party because of the PPE corruption, the factionalism that is happening in the party. It's a very good time. The material conditions on the ground are good for the EFF to do extremely well, to take over, you know, the whole, the municipality. But what we are saying is that let us step back and look at the lives. Let us protect the life. COVID-19 is still there, and the rollout of this vaccine is not actually happening. There is no social distancing on the ground. I tell you right now, and the VDs where I am now, 816, is hotly contested. It's a super spreader event. Everywhere actually where you're going, go to Delft. There are a lot of people, no social distancing at all, even outside at the volunteers. And even when you go into the stations, it gets so packed that, you know, there's no social distancing at all, even no sanitization. So we are saying as the EFF that it is we must choose life over, we want to rush into positions and all of that. We told EFF we're really not in the rush to be in positions and mayors and all of those kind of things. We said postpone them a little bit. You must also be able to have a situation where there's a clear vaccination rollout. It's not there at all. So we are going to go to another massacre. And the ANC, led by Cyril Ramaphosa, likes, these massacres. So you are going to have another massacre again, where people are going to be, killed.
Well, look, the president, I'm sure where he's sitting, he's got access to this information. He's got the National Command Council. He's got his own ministerial advisory council that's giving him information. He's aware of the numbers. He's aware of
they are basing on what? They are basing on what?
He's aware of a third wave that is coming. He's aware of the vaccination program. Why would he continue to give a date if all this information is available to him?
Thabo, we can tell you right now, there is no model that is actually, remember, last year, you know it. They were so surprised, running like Casey and Jojo, not sure what to do. They had to close the country again. These people, they don't use science. They don't understand the concepts of science. They were so shocked when the second wave was coming. And they are actually doing the same mistake again. And there is no vaccination rollout, Thabo. As you can see now, J&J, it has actually been stopped. And we've been even appealing to them. We actually gave them, the ultimatum saying that we want a vaccination plan before the end of this month, or else we're going to occupy all vaccination centers. And we are warning as the EFF that if these elections go ahead, you are going to have another super spreader event. And is what is happening right now. Pule is an elitist. He's not on the ground. He doesn't know what's going on. We are here. There are many people outside the voting station.
Yeah.
You can talk about inside. Probably you can have one or two people where there's a bit of some control a little bit there. But outside, it's hotly contested because we must go and fetch our voters.
Yeah.
And also by nature, these elections...
What are you doing, though, as an organization to protect your voters, those who are on the outside? I mean, you should be participating in this process as well. If you're really caring about lives, bring your own sanitizers, bring your own masks.
We do. We have sanitizers. We've got sanitizers. We've got masks, everything. But you find that now on the other tables, the NCNDA will actually bring the whole community, and there is no, social distance at all. So you try to actually run out, but you can't because it's a political contestation.
Right.
And yes. So you must go, and also you must remember these elections. Cyril has not opened any political space. He has not done that at all. And you know that by nature, our people, we must do door to door. We must go to their houses and talk to actually them and sit down, because we don't. I mean, some of them they're in the rural areas, in the township and all of that. So we must be able to talk with them. So that's why we are saying that it's not the right move really to carry on with the elections now. We're having a meeting again tomorrow anyway. There's a meeting of the NPLC and the leadership. For the all parties, but we don't know why Cyril has announced the date, because the IEC was supposed to be briefing political leaders tomorrow.
Yeah.
That's what it does. We have a meeting of the PLC. We look at all these risks and factors, and then he just goes Nicodemously, and then he just announces. That is how undermining he is. He's never consulted any leaders of the political party. That is actually a huge disrespect, because
all right,
we're
going to run out of time. So, Pule, I want you to respond to those issues. You're a elitist, one of the questions or issues being raised here. But I wanted to ask you the question around the confidence index around your party at the moment. Is that image stable and appealing with PPE scandals that are going on, with factional battles that are going on, with your leaders being suspended, and so on and so forth? Pule, you're muted. If you can unmute there for us.
You may just exit.
Pule, you can unmute, please.
You see, you can't even use these things of Zoom.
There you are. Go for it.
Yes, because Zoom is a proper elite platform. So if I can't use Zoom,
you can't use it, Pule. You can't use it.
It exonerates me. Then it's like
you can't use it.
Yes, that I'm not an elite.
All right, we're gonna run out of time.
Let me take a bite quickly. Respond to the question that has been raised, that the ANC cadres are on the ground all the time, including myself. We have been doing campaigning. Even in rural KwaZulu-Natal, out in Mzala Numado, meeting with wards there, visiting communities in their own homes, making sure that we send smaller numbers of cadres to go and sell the message of the African National Congress. That is why the ANC is never worried when the space for elections is being opened, because we believe that these elections will serve to also resolve a problem of the many hung municipalities. We need to go to elections so that we can give our people a voice to express themselves and construct a government of their choice. Whether it's the EFF, the DA, the UDM, let the people of South Africa speak speak for themselves. We can't sit in positions of comfort when the term of office has ended. The current term of this local government ends in August. So the electoral law does provide that well within the 90-day period, the president must have pronounced on a date of elections. It is actually not factual that the ANC goes to people's homes and takes them in an unprotected fashion and bring them to the polls. That's quite unfortunate because we, together with all other political parties, have got a responsibility to make sure that we contribute to saving the lives of our citizens, making sure that those who go out to vote do so under safer conditions. We've been advocating for the IEC, and we must again commend them to make hold the COVID-19 protocols. And with what we have seen today at the polls, reports that we are getting from our own ops centers, they do suggest that the IEC has lived up to expectations.
Right.
I mean, COVID-19 was uncovered on our shores only this past year. So all of these experiences that we're going through are allowing us to know how to best manage elections going forward. I mean, the ANC is one of the actually, we are one political party that has really interacted with our structures through our virtual platforms. We've been able to hold BGMs with almost all our branches in the country through our virtual platforms. We have had RGCs through our virtual platforms. We have got a number of other programs that are taking place virtually. So the ANC has not lost the greed of talking to its own people. If you go to our own social media pages, you will be able to see that this party that is being accused of being led by elites, the one party that is out in communities almost every weekend. But that is not the story for today. The result of these by-elections and the by-elections that are going to be held in May are going to be telling in terms of the kind of confidence that the people still have in the African National Congress.
Pule, all right, going to have to leave it there, unfortunately, because of time. Severe final bite from you?
Thanks, Thabo. Look, I mean, I just want to respond to something that Mgcini said. I mean, we can't, as political parties, abdicate our responsibility for essentially also promoting free, safe elections. Ultimately, we are leaders. He talks about how he was at a voting station where people were not socially distanced. What has the EFF done to essentially aid that situation? Ultimately, the IEC here has to rise to that occasion. They've given us assurances that their systems are going to be, be able to be nimble, to be able for us to be able to have free, fair, and safe elections. And so we are saying that they need to do that, and we need to adapt as political parties. We can't have large gatherings. We can't do business as usual. So we have to find a way to reach our voters in a different fashion. But look, I mean, I'm not surprised. I know that the EFF are not the big fans of the Constitution. So I'm not surprised that they don't want elections held as per the Constitution.
We'll bring you back. We'll bring you back and give you more time so we can iron those issues out, including a lot of others that have come back in the fort tonight. But I appreciate your time tonight. EFF Head of Elections Mgcini Tshwaku, DA Spokesperson Siviwe Gwarube, and ANC Spokesperson Pule Mabe. Thank you for being a part of this conversation. I see your tweet. Just couldn't get to all of them because of the time tonight. Paulo Jordan, ANC veteran, talks to us next on the application of the step-aside rule, which is affecting the Northwest, with Supra Mahumapelo being suspended, Kusela Diko also being asked to step aside. We'll get his views on that and more. Stay with us.